North Lincolnshire Council. They were also one of the first partners Kirstine and I went to visit when we started working for the Imagination Library, and we were absolutely bowled over by the sheer scale of what they're doing in their area to really support children and really help children have the opportunity to love books and love reading. So without further ado, we've got Ailsa Leggott and Sandra Simmons from North Lincolnshire.
Right, good morning. Hopefully you can hear us, yeah? Quickly, where are we? We're North Lincolnshire. I will say if you get on the M1, go up the M18 and then on M18 and M180 and keep on steaming ahead. That's where you'll find us. You won't necessarily find Robin Hood, but you know there's lots. We've got steelworks. We've still got steelworks. So that's where we're based. So it's brilliant. Okay. On your tables, hopefully, you've got a bigger picture of where we're at. In February 2013, we launched as a pilot to start off with Imagination Library on a small part of our authority called the Isle. It's like that, it's got dikes all around it, that's it, or ditches, if you like. And what we wanted to do was just share with you where we've come since 2013. And really, that's 3 years. But we wanted to share where, you know, like Nottingham started and how we've steamed ahead. And we're getting ready to celebrate with all our earliest settings and our partners. So if we look at the numbers, and you're so right with evidence and commissioners, could you come and be a commissioner with North Lincolnshire, please? That would be good. Yeah? No, we've got huge commitment from our members and our partners, but it's always helpful. We have now got 86% of our children under 5 who are registered and receiving those books. And that is just ace to us. We adore and we're passionate about it. We'll build this. Okay. But when we first started, we said it wouldn't be enough for a book to go through the door. And like those little touches and changes, it had to be driven by a holistic, a whole approach. My leader, who's busy opening our early years conference, said, "What do you mean holistic?" I said, well, everybody gets involved. We do it. We connect. We just nosy Parker. We link it in. And he went, all right, okay. So, you know, for us, it's a fundamental part of our strategy. I'm looking this way because my specs aren't going down there, so if I look there. And we are evidencing it isn't just about Imagination Library, but Imagination Library is just a wonderful vehicle, a steaming train, if you like, in that way, of connecting all the things that we do in early years, pre-birth, onwards, and then from there. And I think what it does do is really keep it high profile. We've got some ideas already from yesterday and from listening to you. I'm scribbling down, yes, council, everybody contributes. And we've got a big screensaver going on soon, so I'm going to get that tagged to the bottom, which is great. Okay. And so in data-wise, with the early years foundation stage, we work really hard with our practitioners to really understand what progress means for our children and with our parents and sharing that. And I am proud. I mean, sometimes I worry a bit that I'm saying I'm really proud of children 4 to 5, but they're achieving a good level of development. That's 70%. And that since February, in that pilot area that we started within North Lincolnshire, has gone incrementally up, both in the personal, emotional, and that attachment, but also in that communication and language. And I just think that is something we've got to unpick and delve down in terms of that, but it's saying where we're going and what we're doing. So we are proud of those numbers, but we're equally proud about getting the right practice and thinking around that. Okay, that's our journey since February 2013. I rather like that. I want to ripple. So you know, that's where we're going. And we're growing. We want to make sure it's everybody. And the challenge to us is never just to stand still, but to look backwards and forwards to say, so who's not registering then? Ailsa and the team, I do a lot of the talking, they do loads of the doing. So Ailsa's going to share with you a bit of the doing. But it was at an international Children's Day by our different communities said, you never celebrate International Children's Day. And actually, we don't in the UK. So we said, no, OK, we'll be with you and part of that. So we got 17 more registrations just by being there, just talking about it, sharing. And that's another 17 children who are going to get that book through the door and make a difference to their lives and the children and their families. So to us, that's brilliant. OK. We needed to embed it. We are a small but perfectly formed team within North Lincolnshire, and it was how we linked with everybody else. We're opportunists. So it was looking at establishing, and it was Ailsa's idea when we were working on the house, she said, we need champions in the community, because this is all about community capacity and building that understanding. And that's what we've got. So in all our localities, we work across with our partners. Colin's here from our library colleagues, and Sue at the back with working with Rotary. You know, we all knit together to try and make the best of the resource that's coming through that letterbox and how we take it forwards. So lots of training, lots of parents coming forward saying, yeah, all right, we'll give it a go. And actually what we're going back to, you're so busy going out sometimes, we thought, so what are we doing in the council? We work with our museum service, we work with our leisure, but actually we're going to put it out there and saying, will you be a champion in your service for Imagination Library? Is everybody registered? What, you know, when you're talking to them, do you talk about it? So it's just some of those simple messages. I'm conscious. Keeping time. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Thank you. Right, and this is where Ailsa, who does the doing. Yeah.
So we do a lot of training in North Links. We really want to know that those books are valued and used once they land on that doormat. That's when the work starts. The registrations are brilliant, but unless somebody picks that book up with that child and has that interaction, it's not going to make a difference in the home. So we put a lot of our efforts into working with our practitioners across North Lincolnshire. We put on book chatter parent partnership training, and the slide before where we had the people with the certificates, they've all been on that training. But we really wanted to keep and maximise the value of those books and refresh that and challenge people. So recently we've run some workshops, again, just to refresh people, keep it fresh in their minds, around developing some work around specific books. We looked at 12 of the Imagination Library books and looked at activities that parents could easily replicate in the home, that our practitioners could share with the parents. They could show them those things. And actually, after we'd put them together, we decided to put some little films together with voiceovers, which will go on our North Links website, so parents will be able to access those. Our practitioners will be able to share those things with them. So again, really simple things. This is first words, and it's just a box full of things that appear in those first words. First words is your first group for your babies. So, you know, those babies need to have a look at those things in the book and point to the pictures, but then they need to experience those things, really. So we need to find that teddy, look at your shoes and your socks. So for us, that's just part of our bread and butter, but some parents don't know that. So unless we sort of share those ideas with them, you know, that is a missed opportunity. So we start with the first words. Another one we brought along with us today, we've got a Cops and Robbers through there, where we've made a photo booth idea, a really fun idea. Again, it's about engaging parents. So we're suggesting that at events, our practitioners could ask children and parents to dress up as a cop and a robber and have their photo in the photo booth, and then those could be put up. So we're really valuing those books and having some, you know, fun interactions around them as well. And then, of course, it's growing that language, isn't it? We've got the dinosaur books, and we're saying, you know, once those children know it's a Tyrannosaurus Rex and a Diplodocus, how are we going to stretch that language? How are we going to take that further? You know, are they going to be then paleontologists and, you know, really make sure that we're sharing that with parents? It doesn't just stop at knowing the names of the dinosaurs. We can really challenge our children and take their communication skills further. So that's our workshops. We also are very aware in North Links, as I think the whole country is, that we have families who we need to work a little bit harder with, our more vulnerable families. So we're piloting a project we started in January called Raffle, which is Raising Attainment Family Literacy. And we're really looking at working together in small clusters with our schools, children's centre, preschools. The photographs I've got up there is one cluster with their logos on, because they're actually together today for a booknick where they've all come together to engage with those families. So those practitioners, we've brought them in together, we've facilitated them working together, we've given them some training, we've the REAL project, the Raising Early Achievement in Literacy, they've had that training, Grow and Talk together training, the Fred training, and of course our own book chatter training, and they're using all those to decide what they're going to do next with their families. Just a couple of examples of things that are actually going on now with the Books at Home visiting programme, which our Children's Centre do. They go and visit families over a 4-week period, and they take books and they model that book behaviour. We've now got a school that goes on those home visits with the Children's Centre, so they're doing those jointly. And then those families are then encouraged to come to a session afterwards. So again, those families are your targeted families. So we're looking at those ways of working together. Also, our book chatter sessions in some of our most vulnerable communities. We've got those going on now in schools run by practitioners where they can come in. The families, you know, the babies and toddlers can come in and have that book sharing modelled to them and encouraged. So hopefully that will go on in the home. I'm going to hand back to Sandra now.
Oh yeah, right, okay. I'm watching that, I am. Okay, our next challenge, and it's a real challenge because it's part of my performance review as an officer. Great. My leader just knows how to get me. So the challenge is by July, honestly leader, that we will have a literacy trust. And it sounds really easy to set up, but actually it isn't. And I've been talking to other colleagues. So it's about, we're very, very lucky in North Lincolnshire at the moment because we are funded by the council and health monies. And that is a big privilege. And it takes, in some ways, a pressure off, but also puts great demand in terms of the quality and what impact is that making. So our challenge is to look at that. So I'm really gathering ideas and going to be taking away, thank you, in terms of doing that. And we are working, Imagination Library has become the foundation, the keystone for children's literacy and part of our health and well-being plan in North Lincolnshire. And as part of that, one of my things, and sometimes I need to learn to go zipper, my daughter often tells me to, is we've done all this work to 5, then what? What else are you going to do? So where does it go? Are you going to let it drift away, or is it going to embed? And so that's when we looked at, working with other colleagues, that we would have a campaign called Words Count. And that really is from birth, or pre-birth in some ways, to the end of life. Sounds a bit strange to say today, but that is what it's about. And again, it was using the same philosophy and principles around Imagination Library, but connecting things in, knitting and weaving, all the things that are going on, and also asking the question of each other and the provocations. So how could it be better then? You know, what else could... That's going. Well, actually, we can badge it under that. So do look, our marketplace. We've got Wordsworth the Bear. Yes, I know. But Wordsworth, 3 minutes coming up. So... I think the last slide, and I saw this. My niece is frequently sending me quotes, and I read this, and I thought, it is so right. I began to realise how important it was to be an enthusiast. That's what I try and do. We all do. If you are interested in something, no matter what it is, go at it at full steed, full pelt, full steam. Embrace it with both arms, hug it, love it, and above all, become passionate about it. Lukewarm is no good. And that is from Roald Dahl, so you can't say it. We're going to put a quick clip of the video up, and if you want to do it. So this is Words Count. If you want to go onto our website, have a look in there. You can see all the different things that are happening with our partners. And have a look on there. And if you look at the back, Ailsa's nobly reminded me, because she knows what I'm like. There's on the reverse of that is all our buttons, if you like, that you can press. Okay, so that's us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Don't cry, Dilly, said Spike, and they gave her a big cuddle.
Chatterbox was set up in conjunction with the local school. It supports transition, communication and language skills, and within that session is an early years practitioner from the school nursery, a parent volunteer and a member of the early years team.
Do you want me to help you? Yeah.
Promote using activities or resources to enhance the book. So say, for example, the Digger with the Digger book. It brings it alive to the child, particularly young children.
Caroline's a parent helper at school. We knew her already and we knew that she had a love of books. So I approached Caroline and we attended a parent partnership training.
I think it's really good because at a young age you're introduced to books and even socializing with other children. So it's all in all, it's good for their upbringing. They love the chatter pack. It's like bringing home a new toy every time. And the fun part for her is to exchange it every week when we come to get a different chatter pack back.
And we want to encourage lots of parents and carers to share nursery rhymes with their children, because obviously babies and children, if they hear the rhymes over and over again, they learn them themselves, and it's really good for developing language and literacy skills. And then today we had making paper plate teddy bears, but it'll usually be some kind of simple craft activity.
Yeah, there's your glue there, look. Right, colour yours in, look, all of it like that, look.
We have quite a lot of children who would shy away from reading with a reading buddy, perhaps a Year 6 child, or even shy away from reading with an adult. But when they're posed with an audience that is the canine audience, they seem to thrive, they just have more confidence. We had one child today who didn't necessarily want to read because she was so nervous about reading, but she still wanted to tell the story to the dog. So she got the opportunity to tell him a story, which is still great for her literacy.
Turned into Little Red Riding Hood's granny.
We invited the library service in, who came along with library cards and their books and shared books with the parents, talked about the process of joining the library when libraries were open. We also do a loaning system here where children can loan out the books that they've shared today with us. We also do something called a book club diary, which the children fill in. They talk about the books. We write in sneakily top tips to share with the parents. And the children do that here in the book club, and then they take them home once a term.
On your thumbs in hard-boiled eggs, there's an essential relationship between the pictures and the words, because young children who can't read love to hear the words being read to them, but they're also doing a lot of work by looking at the pictures and getting really absorbed in them for themselves.
Because they really add expression, so let's give it a couple of eyebrows.
The comments that have come back to our school from the group of children that attended the event in the morning, they were absolutely made up. The work, when the member of staff came back, she said it's a really, really high quality work that they've done.
The first thing to do is to get the story down. Write the story really quickly. Don't worry about the sentences, spelling mistakes, structures, vocabulary. Just write it, and then once you've written it, you can make it a bit prettier if you want. And so you can put in the odd fancy word. You can make the spelling better.
We found that children are telling us that they are using tablets more often than they're using computers at home now.
Well, I use it at home for my maths. And sometimes when I'm a little bit bored, I just go on Puffin Academy and just read some more of my book.
And then they're using scanning skills to check how many grams of butter or how many grams of flour do I need for that recipe. And looking at words as well, there might be words they're not sure of, vocabulary used in cooking like creaming, beating, whisking. What's the difference between creaming and beating?
I guess we're using music and language in a kind of in a really connected, interconnected kind of a way. So, for example, when we think about words, we're thinking about what's the rhythm of those words, what's the kind of melodic contour, melodic shape of those words, and I think that encourages children to think a little bit differently about how they use language and the kind of correlation between musical shape and form and the shapes and forms of sentences and structure of language and things like that.
Like a weird and wonderful Harry Potter house for the kids to play in, and I think they'd really enjoy it.
Just to see him use the tape measures and, you know, using squares and trigonometry and things like that. It really tests them, you know, you've really got to do it hands-on, haven't you? And just letting them make the mistakes if they measure it wrong. Well, hang on, what did you do wrong? And, you know, there's a lot of very similar measurements on a tape measure and mistakes happen, but you've got to let them make them mistakes in order to learn.
It helps people, or it seems to help people, to get out on a Thursday morning and discuss these sort of things. And it's not for a terribly long period. It's from, we usually come around about here about 10 o'clock in the morning and we're finished by 12.
And then right down to nothing. And it should bring it in to fit that bit.
Sometimes you just can't work out a pattern, but if you can't, somebody else usually can.
That side again.
No, you read the pattern the same way as you would read a book. And then it's encouraging you to read, yes.
In the booklet it tells us as well, there's the picture of the fire extinguisher. As I said earlier, there's three main...
We know how important it is to many people because they've told us that they want to keep reading and have access to reading materials. We have a library service within the home that's operated by a local authority, which provides an ever-changing supply of library books. We recognise that it is vital for people's health and well-being.
The other thing on there that it says is about the fire extinguishers.
The case for investing in stronger literacy and numeracy within communities is well made. We know that the higher the levels of literacy and numeracy within communities, the higher the employment, the better the health outcomes, the lower the levels of crime, and the better social engagement and overall well-being of residents. So there is already a commitment from North Lincolnshire Council, the police, the fire brigade, colleagues in health, and across a range of voluntary organisations who have a connection to the Health and Wellbeing Board. We know that this will make a difference for our communities. It's the next part of our regeneration.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Ailsa. North Lincolnshire has really gone down in the history books for Dolly Parton's Imagination Libraries with 86% enrollment. It's unheard of. Thank you so much.